Hello and welcome back. This is episode number 4, probably the last episode. The Gardener, a short story by P. Lankesh. Tamanna had a different method to destroy Basavaya now. He planned his own death that could destroy or frustrate Basavaya. That is how he thought. The narrator, the old man, continues to narrate the story to the owner's wife. That is when I realized, he said, how strange human nature can be. The old man begins his explanation to the owner's wife. He said, man needs education, art, and many more things, and yet he lives for some kind of unbearable vengefulness. Without it, there would be no reason for his existence. How do human beings behave? They may have everything in their life, yet they find their lives or they find their life uninteresting or less interesting, less colorful. Vengefulness, they're, they're leaning towards vengefulness. That would be one thing that drives their lives. So without it, they find there is no reason for their existence. So this is not a real story. Only what I have heard somewhere, he said. The old man continues to talk about it. You may know that I subscribe to a daily. To you, I am just an old man. After a particular age, a man loses his name. His age becomes important, and his name vanishes into thin air. The old man continued to say. He said he subscribes to a newspaper. He is now old man. Name doesn't really matter. After a particular age, it's only age that matters. An old man said, that is enough. Who said, doesn't really matter? He was an old man. Now I am an old man in this garden, your servant, he said. I am also the person who reads newspapers and looks after the garden properly. I conceived the story of Taman and Basavaya when all of a sudden Russia told America, I am not your enemy. I shall not wage a war against you. How could that be? How could Russia and America be friends? There has been Tom and Jerry kind of a thing always there between Russia and America. There is a rivalry between these two nations, and it is growing every time. At present, the relationship between these two countries is worst. This was admitted by the presidents, and even Putin said that the relationship between America and Russia is going from worse to worse, worse to worse. Suppose suddenly Russia said or told America that you are not my enemy, we will not wage war against one another. What would really happen to America? What must have been the reaction of America, the sworn enemy of Russia, to this declaration? Because you are anticipating a war, you are anticipating hatred, you are anticipating animosity or the expression of anger from the other person. But when you are anticipating all this, the other person stands before you or appears before you and says, good morning, nice to meet you, how kind of you, you are such a wonderful person. Then how do you respond to that person? because you are anticipating many more things which will not be so nice. But suddenly this happened. You are undone. You are totally undone. Probably you will not understand the agony and boredom of America. America might have felt bored of this declaration that Russia would not wage war against America. They would feel bored because they are all in preparedness for a war, and suddenly this came up. So once it knew Russia was no more an enemy, how could they react to it? They feel in boredom. They could not resist it. But the old man said, a nation is capable of withstanding strains like this. Anything that happens to nation as a whole could withstand it. But individuals, for example, look at the pandemic. The pandemic is there everywhere in the world, and every country is facing that, but it's able to withstand. But what about individuals? Individual victims who are the victims of the pandemic, and what about their families? They could not withstand, they could not face. But a human being cannot do it. If Russia says that America could feel the boredom, but it could withstand it. It could withstand the suffering, but the human beings, the individuals cannot do it. So, but a human being cannot withstand, he said, the old man said. I'm reading it here. I suffered a similar fate. I thought, be careful here. I thought my death alone could destroy Basavaya. My death alone could destroy Basavaya. A few days after I left, I gave up everything and started off. My death alone could destroy Basavaya. I gave up everything and started off. A few days after I left, Basavaya passed away. He had no more reasons to live. He said, my name is Taman. The old man who is narrating the story is none other than the part of the story. My name is Taman. After his death, I forgot all my songs and ballads. I, who was once famous, became a non-entity. Thus, I avenged myself. Tamanna said. He left the place. Basavaya, the next morning, realized that his enemy was not there, felt his life completely empty. So he had no other reasons to live. He felt boredom in his life. He died. There was no other reason for him to live, and he was frustrated, and he died. Tamanna had already left the place. After Basavaya's death, he forgot his songs and ballads. He was a famous person once, but became a non-entity now. Thus he avenged himself. So why did he tell this story to the old woman? Sorry, the owners of the wife. He said, your husband is flourishing today as a rich man. He is not amenable to any advice. He could not listen to anybody. Man is so complicated that till the day of his death, he goes on living for some revenge or the other, confronting one challenge or the other. I hope you understand. He's trying to suggest him that what happened to him may happen to him as well, may happen to the owner as well. Because the richness that takes human beings into different level, that may change the behavior of them, that may make them to confront many challenges. They may become vengeful, because you want to be prestigious, powerful, rich, and all that kind of a thing that would make people or human beings acquire more enemies around them. It could happen to him as well. It may be a piece of advice that he is trying to give her. Maybe she should take care of that. Or is he might be just sharing his experience with her. So he said, Amma, do not think otherwise. Just assume I did not tell you any of this, or think all this happened in a dream. The laborers have started going home. That young child of Lokia paints well. He is bedridden with fever. I shall pay him a visit. After telling this story, the old man left the place, took leave from the owner's wife. After this, the narrator who began the narration comes back and says, forgive me, unable to elaborate. I have told you whatever I felt as it is. I had seen all this in a dream, he said. He conceived this story in a flash. The same narrator comes back to say that, forgive me, I could not elaborate much, maybe through the old man. But he said he had seen all these things in a dream. But this is nothing but a revelation of human beings and the characters and their behaviors, how the mind of human beings work. This is just reading of the story, but we will analyze this story in our next episode and along with the question answers. Until then, keep waiting for the next video, and bye.